So during his campaign for the Republican nomination, Newt Gingrich proposed a moon colony. It's an idea that's been brought up from time to time. That then led to a host of late-night comedy about Newt wanting to leave Earth for a younger planet. But aside from that, it raised a conversation again about space exploration and whether it's worth it. Now, I have to be honest and say that in the past, I've often thought that it's not worth spending money on space exploration when we have so much that needs to be done here on the Earth. But that view was challenged when I listened to an interview recently with Neil deGrasse Tyson, a modern-day genius, an astrophysicist. And he described something that I was not aware of, or at least hadn't made the connection. And that was that when all the first moon landings were taking place between 1968 and 1973, around that same time, a whole lot of ecological, environmental leaps were taken, especially in America. So the Clean Water Act, the first Earth Day in 1970, these all happened in the context of these moon landings. And then an interesting one, he said that Doctors Without Borders also began in 1970. Now, as Tyson says in the interview, it was only once we'd gone to the moon and looked back at the Earth and seen the Earth from a cosmic perspective that we even had some language to talk about what borders were, what they stood for, and what they meant in the world. Everything was completely different once you've seen the Earth from a cosmic perspective. Now, I've already spoken about getting up close and personal with the Earth. Now I want to talk about almost the opposite thing and yet the same result. That is when you get a bit of distance from the Earth, when you get a different perspective on the Earth. It looks altogether different. Now, from the moon, you can't make out the difference between people and non-human species. You can't see them. It's just one ball spinning there. It's all one. All the things that we make such a fuss about in our world, all the distinctions, the difference between people, the difference between rich and poor, the difference between nations, the difference between people and animals and plants. These are all trivial when you look at the Earth from the moon. It's just one ball. Now, many people who've been to the moon have had incredible experiences and come back really fired up to become eco-activists. And one example that I want to read out here was the first Chinese man in space. And he described his experience like this. He says, a Chinese tale tells of some men sent to harm a young girl who, upon seeing her beauty, become her protectors rather than her violators. That's how I felt, he said, seeing the Earth for the first time. I could not help but love and cherish her. Now, for you, whether it's getting up close and personal to the Earth, or whether it's getting a bit of distance and seeing the Earth in a new light, whatever it is, see if you can gain yourself a more compassionate perspective of love and respect for the Earth. And if enough of us can do this, then we might be able to make a significant difference in the world.